You sit there and you thump your Bible and say your prayers, and it didn't get anywhere. Talk about your Psalms, talk about your John 30:16. Austin 30:16 says, I just whip your ass. That's right, we're talking about a stone cold Steve Austin feud. Not with Jake Roberts, because it really wasn't a feud. It was just a match, a really memorable match. The match itself wasn't all that good, but yeah, this is Rivalry 16. Just got done recording 15. That's why I got the same shirt on still. Yeah, thumbs up, I guess. I don't know. Wow. This is one of the most underrated feuds of all time, I'd say. I really would. Like, Bret and Shawn get all the fucking publicity in the world. I'll hear people talk about at least a couple times a year. Well, this feud, they'll talk about the whole fucking WrestleMania match, and it was really good. Like, one of the better WrestleMania matches in history. I could probably fit in the top 10 list. But they never really talk about the whole entire feud in general. And that's what I'm going to do today. So, coming from the most reliable source in the world, Wikipedia, Austin spoke about Bret Hart constantly and taunted him relentlessly. Hart finally accepted Austin's challenge and returned to WWF in October 96. Just think of it this way. Bret Hart was in the main event of WrestleMania 96, okay? Not the actual 96 of WrestleMania, but WrestleMania 1996. Which would be, come on, 12. Yes, that'd be WrestleMania 12. He's already won the world title at WrestleMania 10. He beat Ric Flair 92. You know, main evented. He lost, but he main evented WrestleMania 12. And then he chose to go against a guy who hasn't been there no more than a year, no less than a year, really. And just, like, he chose him. Just to put it plain simple. He chose stunning Steve Austin. And I remember this match, actually. I watched this it's probably been months now. But usually when I watch a match, I'll remember that I watched it, a lot too long ago. And, Survivor Series 96, really good back and forth match, technical wrestling. That's the thing that always made me really sad. Austin used to be such a good technical wrestler, oh my god. Like, not like Benoit, Angle, Bryan, technical wrestling. Got a cut on my finger. Yeah. Okay, but yeah, not like a Benoit, Jericho, Angle, Bryan type of technical wrestling, but like a Bret Hart or a Shawn Michaels type of technical wrestling, Like, he could technically wrestle, and after he got dropped on his head, yeah, punches, spine buster, And that's not Austin's fault. I can't blame him for not wanting to be as, super active in the ring. I can't blame him. Because I probably would do the same thing. I'd be scared to, be picked up and shit. But, I don't know. It's just, that's always made me sad. But yeah, the whole thing about Steve Austin and Bret at 96, Steve Austin had the $1 Million Dream on, and then Bret Hart reverses it by kicking off the turnbuckle and getting the pin. Like, that's like an ultimate way to beat somebody, but pretty much say, wow, you had to roll him up just to fucking beat him. That's a huge deal to me, and I really just, like, that made Steve Austin look so good. And then, of course, oh yeah, the whole Brian Pillman thing that was happening at the same time. I'm not going to talk about that because it's not part of the feud. Austin did win the 97 Royal Rumble. I never really got, like, why Austin never really got a title shot, to be honest with you. I think the champion at the time, if it's WrestleMania 13, was Psycho Sid? Yeah, because Psycho Sid lost to The Undertaker. So the champion at the time was Psycho Sid. And I understand that Austin going against Psycho Sid at WrestleMania for the title, But, like, at the same time, it's a good thing, but at the same time, it's a bad thing. Like, It doesn't make logical sense. Oh, I won the Rumble. That means I get to go on the title match, but I'm not going to take it. I just never got that. Yeah, at the 97 Royal Rumble, Bret Hart did originally eliminate Austin, and Austin came back in the ring and then eliminated Bret because they never really saw that happen. I guess that could be part of it. They never really, like, said, like, oh, well, Austin had to cheat or anything. They never really, like, made it clear on how they logically booked that, but whatever. This was actually a decent match, the Fatal 4-Way at, In Your House 13, Final 4. I believe it was Shawn, Bret, Vader, and Austin. And Shawn did get injured and he had to vacate the championship. Austin was eliminated early from the 4-Way, continuing his feud with Hart, obviously. I guess that was his title shot. I don't fucking know. Fuck logic. And then, of course, let's see, but it was a involved finish, and which saw Hart. But then the next night, he would lose to Psycho Sid, of course, due to Austin's interference, continuing his feud with Hart once again. So Bret did, don't ever say in the Attitude Era, Austin was the only guy to ever win the title, This wasn't, like, necessarily hugely Attitude Era, but it still was practically around that time. But yeah, then Psycho Sid would go into WrestleMania. That just never made sense to me, how he logically could never get that title shot at WrestleMania. Whatever, though, I'm not going to complain about it, because it really did help Austin's career, the submission match with Ken Shamrock as a special referee. Yeah, special referee. Like I said, the $1 Million Dream reversal was a good way to push somebody over, say, oh, you had to roll him up just to beat him. This was another good way. I mean, Bret Hart did pretty much just win by submission, but Austin never tapped, fighting, crawling, the blood running down his face. One of the best moments in wrestling history, easily. Huge moment. That's the moment that created Stone Cold's career, easily. Just like instantly, whew, heel, face, heel. There you go. Just instantly. Yep, like they call it was a rare double turn. Austin eventually got his revenge in Hart in the main event of In Your House 14, Revenge of the Taker, in a match to determine the number one contender for Undertaker's WWE Championship. Austin won when Hart was disqualified due to assistance from the British Bulldog, earning a title shot against Undertaker at In Your House 15, A Cold Day in Hell. Austin faced Hart once again in a street fight on April 21st episode of Raw, injuring his opponent's leg with a steel chair during the bout. The match was ultimately awarded to Hart when Austin refused to let go of his own sharpshooter. He proceeded to beat Hart while on a stretcher in the back of an ambulance. At a Cold Day in Hell, Austin had the Undertaker down with the stunner, but while distracted with a timely interference by Brian Pillman, Stone Cold's old tag team partner, Undertaker nailed Austin with the Tombstone Piledriver and achieved the victory. That was mostly after Bret Hart. But I did like how after the whole Bret incident, they didn't like, I know by SummerSlam 97 he was already fighting Owen for the Intercontinental Championship, but I like how they didn't just, you're going the mid-card, bitch. They did give him, matches against Hart, Bret, and a match against Undertaker for the world title. It did make sense, because, he never did tap, and that's always something you can't take away from Austin's career. But, really after the WrestleMania match, that was where Austin was kind of just built really well, and you really couldn't take a whole lot away from him at that point, just to be honest with you. Yeah. The matches after, it was just like a more evenly bout, like, you couldn't really look at Austin as an underdog anymore. Like, he was starting to build his career really well, and thank God, because the WF needed it. And then, of course, I'm not going to grade on this, but, then he would face Owen Hart for the IC Championship, break his neck, beat him at Survivor Series, blah, blah, blah. By this time, Bret was out of the WWF, so way past the rivalry time. But, let's get the grade. The way this was built with Steve Austin calling Bret names, and then Bret saying, okay, Steve, you want me? You want me? You got it. You know, really good building that way. And then, of course, you can never go wrong with the match at Survivor Series 96 if you ever want, like, a decent technical wrestling match. That's a really good one. It really is. More underrated than it should be. And especially the ending. The whole having the feud with Owen and Bulldog and Pillman, that was pretty good. You know, the whole Canadian faction, it made sense. So that was good. How it wasn't always about, Steve Austin and Bret, every fucking pay-per-view, every fucking Raw, like they do now. At least there was, you know, tag team matches and one-on-one matches with other people and, you know, fatal four-way world title match, you know, in your house. They did build to, like, where it wasn't always a one-on-one match, and thank God they did that because it made sense to not bore you with a constant one-on-one match. And really, after Survivor Series, they didn't touch one-on-one majorly again until WrestleMania 13 in the submission match, with the way it should have been. That was a perfect. It turned Bret Hart heel, which he needed. It turned Steve Austin face, which was needed. And then it brought in a big-time Attitude Era guy in Ken Shamrock. So that was good. And then Steve Austin after this was built credibly. He didn't just automatically win the WWF title. He did have to work for it. He had to go past the Intercontinental Championship. And then eventually, you know, he'd win the Royal Rumble 98. He would go to he'd go to WrestleMania 14, beat Shawn Michaels for the WWF title. Perfectly building for Austin after the Bret Hart feud. And you could argue Bret was the right guy to build Steve Austin. Like, I don't know anybody else who could have done it as good as Bret Hart. That's something you can't take away from Bret Hart. Anytime he was in the ring with just a random guy, he could make you look good and he could build you. He really could. So, yeah. This is more grading on the build, the after build, like how these guys end. With Bret Hart going, he'd win the WWF title at SummerSlam, which was a stupid decision. Then, of course, the Montreal Screwjob, which would go having won the WCW. It kind of was a negative effect, but at the same time, it's very historical and important in history, so I can't really downgrade it like that. While Steve Austin was built really strongly after this, Ken Shamrock was brought in really good after that special referee match. A. Giving it a solid A. Building was perfect. The way it was started was perfect. How Steve Austin was built was perfect. How Hart was built after was perfect. The double turn was perfect. How they never really fully brought the title into the actual feud was perfect. How they waited after the feud to give Steve Austin the title till 98. That was perfect. Bret Hart, the Montreal Screwjob going to WCW. I wouldn't necessarily call it perfect, but it made sense and it was a part of history that will never be forgotten. That was good. So just like A, easily. Really good feud. Can't take anything away from it. I would even go as far as say A+. Because this was, I could say this was the best feud of all time. Never really have I seen two guys benefit, not just same pace and not get buried at all, but they were just rising up after this, with Bret Hart becoming the biggest star in WCW for some time. He really was. He was almost overshadowing the NWO when he was brought in, while Steve Austin was the bigger star who would become the biggest star at WrestleMania 14. So you could argue these were the two biggest stars of 98. You really could. It's crazy. So, A+, whatever you want to call it, just on the top of the food chain. Thank you, Spider0 20,099. Yeah, that's just gonna be how I'm saying it. You can subscribe up above, like this video, comment your thoughts on Bret and Steve Austin below, and of course you can inbox me for rivalry request. It's it from this video. We'll talk to y'all later. Peace.